Before he became the most powerful drug lord in history, Pablo Escobar was a petty criminal in Medellín, Colombia, dealing in contraband and stolen cars. But he saw something no one else did: the limitless demand for cocaine in the 1970s. He didn't invent the cocaine trade, but he industrialized it. He built smuggling routes that stretched across continents, and at his peak was reportedly earning tens of millions of dollars every single day. His Medellín cartel operated on a simple philosophy: plata o plomo, silver or lead. Accept the bribe or accept the bullet. When the Colombian government moved against him, Escobar declared war. He orchestrated bombings, assassinated politicians, and terrorized an entire nation. His violence triggered an international response, with both Colombia and the United States dedicating massive resources to hunting him down. On December 2, 1993, after over a year on the run, authorities tracked a phone call to his hiding place. He was killed in a rooftop shootout in a Medellín neighborhood. The king of cocaine was dead at 44. His death didn't end the drug trade. It only splintered it into smaller, more elusive factions. His private prison, La Catedral, is now a monastery. His former mansion is a tourist attraction. The man is gone, but the myth only grew larger. Joaquin Guzman Loera, known as El Chapo, Shorty, was born into rural poverty in Sinaloa, Mexico. He grew up surrounded by the drug trade and rose through the ranks of the Guadalajara cartel, not just with violence but with engineering genius. He pioneered the use of long, air-conditioned tunnels beneath the US-Mexico border, turning drug smuggling into a logistics operation. After the Guadalajara cartel collapsed, he founded the Sinaloa cartel and built it into a multi-billion-dollar global empire. He was first captured in 1993, but El Chapo's legend wasn't built on his arrests. It was built on his escapes. In 2001, he reportedly slipped out of a maximum security prison in a laundry cart, though the exact method remains disputed. Either way, the government was humiliated. After his recapture in 2014, he did it again, this time through a mile-long tunnel dug directly into the shower floor of his cell, complete with a motorcycle on rails. It was the most audacious prison escape in modern history. The second escape made his capture a matter of national pride. A clandestine interview with actor Sean Penn for Rolling Stone magazine helped authorities narrow down his location. He was captured for the final time in January 2016 and extradited to the United States in January 2017. The man who built tunnels to escape confinement now lives in a place designed to make escape impossible: a DX Florence, America's most secure federal prison. A permanent concrete box. But the Sinaloa cartel kept running long after he was gone. Al Capone began his career as a bouncer in a Brooklyn saloon, where a knife fight with a man named Frank Galluccio earned him a scar across his cheek and a permanent nickname, Scarface. He found his opportunity in 1920s Chicago, a city desperate for illegal alcohol during Prohibition. Under his mentor, Johnny Torrio, he learned that violence was a tool, but organization was the real key to power. When Torrio retired, Capone took over everything: bootlegging, gambling, prostitution. He cultivated a public image as a benevolent businessman, even opening soup kitchens for the poor. Behind closed doors, his enforcers ruled the streets. That illusion of civility was destroyed on February 14, 1929. His men, disguised as police officers, lined up 7 members of a rival gang against a wall and executed them. The St. Valentine's Day Massacre made him public enemy number 1. A special team of Treasury agents led by Elliot Ness began dismantling his operation. But despite countless acts of violence, they could never make a murder charge stick. So they went after something else entirely: his money. In 1931, the most powerful criminal in America was convicted not for murder, not for bootlegging, but for failing to pay his taxes. He was sent to the newly opened Alcatraz, where his power and his health rapidly collapsed. He was released a broken man, his mind destroyed by neurosyphilis, a shadow of what he once was. In the depths of the Great Depression, when banks were failing and families were losing everything, John Dillinger found his calling. A long prison sentence served as his criminal education, and when he got out, he went to work. He and his gang robbed at least a dozen banks with military precision, often embarrassing local police. Dillinger played to the public, a dashing gentleman bandit who only stole from the institutions people already blamed for their suffering. To many, he wasn't a criminal. He was a folk hero. His legend exploded when he allegedly carved a fake pistol from a block of wood and used it to break out of a supposedly escape-proof jail. Whether the wooden gun was real or smuggled in remains debated to this day. His escapes and robberies were a direct challenge to J. Edgar Hoover's Bureau of Investigation. Hoover declared him public enemy number 1 and formed a special task force to bring him down. After months of near misses, the net finally closed in Chicago. A woman named Anna Sage, the infamous Lady in Red, betrayed his location to agents in exchange for leniency on her immigration case. On July 22, 1934, as Dillinger walked out of the Biograph Theater, federal agents were waiting. He was shot dead in the alley. Thousands lined up to see his body. The successful manhunt transformed Hoover's small bureau into the powerful nationwide agency we know today as the FBI. Little is known about the early life of Edward Teach. He began as a privateer, a state-sanctioned sailor fighting for the British Crown during the War of Spanish Succession. But when the war ended and the paychecks stopped, he turned to piracy. He captured a French ship, renamed it the Queen Anne's Revenge, and armed it with 40 cannons. It became the most feared vessel in the Atlantic. But his greatest weapon wasn't firepower. It was fear. He braided lit fuses into his long black beard, wreathing his face in smoke during battle. He looked like a demon rising from the sea. And that was exactly the point. At his peak, he commanded a flotilla of ships and hundreds of pirates. His most audacious move was blockading the entire port of Charleston, holding it hostage until his demands were met. The governor of Virginia sent 2 warships under Lieutenant Robert Maynard to eliminate him. Maynard cornered Blackbeard at Ocracoke Inlet, North Carolina, on November 22, 1718. Maynard's crew faked a retreat, then ambushed the pirates as they boarded. Teach fought ferociously, taking numerous wounds before he finally fell. His head was removed and hung from the bow of Maynard's ship as proof of his death. No great buried treasure was ever found. His reign of terror lasted only 2 years, but the image he crafted endured for centuries. James Whitey Bulger grew up in the tough Irish-American housing projects of South Boston, a world built on loyalty and silence. By the 1970s, he had risen to lead the Winter Hill Gang, controlling everything from extortion to drug trafficking across Boston's underworld. But Bulger had a secret weapon that made him almost untouchable. While ruling the streets, he was simultaneously a top-echelon informant for the FBI. He fed information to a corrupt agent named John Connolly, using the Bureau to eliminate his own rivals. For years, he operated with total impunity. His FBI status was a shield that allowed him to commit crimes, including multiple murders, while the federal government looked the other way. The corrupt bargain collapsed in late 1994 when a state police investigation threatened to expose everything. Tipped off by his FBI handler, Bulger vanished just before he was indicted. For 16 years, he was one of the most wanted men in America, at one point second only to Osama bin Laden on the FBI's most wanted list. The global manhunt ended not in a foreign country, but in a modest apartment in Santa Monica, California, where he had been living quietly with his girlfriend for years. He was captured in 2011, convicted of racketeering, extortion, and involvement in 11 murders. His story wasn't just about a gangster. It was about one of the worst failures in FBI history. Long before the famous male cartel leaders, Griselda Blanco was building her own empire. She grew up on the streets of Medellín, Colombia, where she learned that ruthlessness was the key to survival. She moved to New York and then to Miami in the 1970s, seeing the city as the perfect gateway for cocaine into the American market. She was a pioneer, credited with inventing methods like using lingerie with hidden compartments to smuggle drugs. Her arrival in Miami marked the beginning of the city's most violent chapter, the era of the cocaine cowboys. She was infamous for her brutality, ordering public assassinations that left a trail of bodies across South Florida. She became one of the most feared and wanted traffickers of her time. And she was a ghost, constantly changing her appearance and location, making her nearly impossible for the DEA to track. After a decade-long investigation, DEA agents finally found her. Not in Miami, but living a quiet life in Irvine, California. She was arrested in 1985 without a fight. She served nearly 20 years in prison before being deported back to Colombia in 2004. The world she returned to was one she had helped create. In 2012, the 69-year-old Blanco was shot and killed while leaving a butcher shop in Medellín. The woman who wrote the rules of violence died by those very same rules. The day before Thanksgiving, 1971, a man in a dark business suit calling himself Dan Cooper boarded a flight from Portland to Seattle. He was completely unremarkable, just another face in the crowd. Shortly after takeoff, he calmly passed a note to a flight attendant informing her he had a bomb in his briefcase. His demands were precise: $200,000 in unmarked bills and 4 parachutes. After landing in Seattle, the exchange was made. The passengers were released and Cooper's demands were met. He then ordered the pilots to take off again, heading south toward Mexico City at a specific low altitude, somewhere over the dense, stormy wilderness of southwestern Washington state. He lowered the rear air stairs of the Boeing 727 and jumped into the night. He was never seen again. The FBI launched one of the most extensive and expensive manhunts in American history. For months, investigators scoured the remote landscape. No trace of Cooper, no parachute, nothing. Then in 1980, a young boy on a camping trip found 3 packets of the ransom money, disintegrated but identifiable, on the banks of the Columbia River. The discovery only deepened the mystery. The money was far from any plausible landing zone, suggesting it had washed downstream over years. For over 45 years, the FBI pursued thousands of leads. Not a single one confirmed his identity. The case remains the only unsolved air piracy in American history. The investigation was officially suspended in 2016. D.B. Cooper is no longer a suspect. He is an American myth. Proof that with enough audacity, a person can simply vanish from the world and into legend. These are the fugitives who rewrote the rules. Some caught, some killed, and one who simply disappeared. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe and leave a comment. Thanks for watching.